Hello, everyone. We're back, and we have Derek O. and Faraz Nomani, founders of Utiva, a line of products that include rapid tests and natural supplements that keep UTIs at bay. So let's get into it. Hi, guys. How are you?
Hi, Shannon.
Hi, Shannon.
So I know that all of us have our personal stories into why we ventured off into this area. Mine, most people are familiar with. I've been dealing with UTIs since I was in second grade. I've been dealing with urinary issues since I was very young, and then had the most embarrassing incontinence and longest UTI I've ever had this past March. But I'd love to hear your personal stories and how you got into it. Faraz?
Sure, I can start. So Shannon, my story is quite unfortunate where, we had, for me as a young child growing up, like seeing the first death in the family was my grandma at a very young age. And, frankly, I was young enough to not know the complications that took place to lead to her demise. But, as I understand, one of the major things my grandma growing up in India was the lack of ability to have an open conversation about urinary tract infections and accepting it, that this was a condition that she had and she didn't seek timely treatment. And as basic as that could be, it's something that's really left the family pretty shaken up because today we're so fortunate. We have technology, we have communities, we have access to medical doctors. But so many years ago, and for so many people still in the world today, the conversation and the convenience access to primary care is still something that should not be taken for granted. So a big part of my personal mission is to really help go further into this disease state with the concept of education and convenience and making it super simple to treat UTIs or prevent UTIs.
Absolutely. I have a heart for that because the options, you can't learn about your options if you don't speak up and have the conversations. Derek?
Yeah, you know what? UTIs definitely came into our life here when my wife was actually traveling. We're all familiar with what a UTI was, but it never really impacted us until, she was away and, and uh, um, you when you're overseas.
So Derek, we're having a little trouble hearing from you. Just one moment, please.
Well, Shannon, UTIs really impacted us, and we learned firsthand how complicated they can be when my wife was actually away traveling. She was overseas in a country that she didn't speak the language, and an infection, which started in Toronto, we're based in Canada, actually, she didn't respond. She had resistance to the antibiotic that was given to her. And unfortunately, she left on the trip. She wasn't going to cancel the trip because of that. She just took the antibiotics, went on the trip. Infection ended up spreading into her kidneys. She was sweating, couldn't walk, ended up in the hospital getting IV antibiotics. I mean, it's nerve-wracking when you're in a place where you can't speak the language. You don't know, the healthcare. You don't know the healthcare in other countries as well. In the end, it really made us think about, is it possible to actually prevent UTIs and do it without medication? Because if she's already resistant to one antibiotic, if you keep using more and more, what could that lead to when she actually needs something that might be more severe?
Right.
And with the background that Faraz and I have had working in the healthcare industry, we've had a lot of great conversations with medical professionals to understand that as of right now, the only clinically proven option are antibiotics. So that's what led us down the path to try and create something that could help. And, it's mostly women, but men also get UTIs. So it's basically for anyone that suffers.
Absolutely. So to your point, I mean, because you mentioned healthcare providers, um, a lot of people don't talk about, their issues, and they do try to handle it at home. But do people suffering from UTIs need to consult or be reliant on their medical doctors?
That's a great question. And there's a lot of UTI sufferers out there who get them frequently enough that they feel that they can treat them and understand them themselves. You mean from a clinical standpoint? I mean, we're not doctors, but we work in the industry, and we do know that clinically proven antibiotics are still the main go-to treatment for UTI. There are many cases, and so basically, to answer your question, to get an antibiotic, you need to see a doctor, whether it's through a telemedicine service or an in-person clinic. But if you are having an active infection, it's still always advisable to go seek your doctor's help first. They're the ones that can really identify what the problem is. See, things can happen, for example, where it might not be a UTI. There might be some kind of anatomical problem, but it presents itself like a UTI. So in a case like that, an antibiotic's not going to do anything, and you're just going to be taking one pointlessly. Like, there's no need to take it. On top of that, there is no natural product out there that's actually proven to treat a UTI. All natural products are there meant as a prevention. One day, if there are enough clinical studies done to prove that a natural product can treat a UTI, that's when that conversation will change. But for right now, the doctor is still the main go-to for treatment.
Okay. So you mentioned the antibiotics, and sometimes they don't work, because in your wife's instance, it didn't react to her. It didn't work with her system. So how do antibiotics work, and can we still rely on them? Do we still rely on them?
Mm-hmm. And unfortunately, yes, like antibiotics are still the main go-to. And just to add on to a bit what I was saying earlier is that a UTI can often clear up on its own. Not often, I would say 50. It's known that about 50% of the time it can clear up on its own. But during that 50% that clear up on its own, you're still going to be suffering from all the symptoms that come with the UTI. And for those 50% that don't clear up, which we don't know at the start of a UTI, which one's going to clear up on its own and which one's not, it could lead to a much more complicated problem, like a kidney infection, for example, where my wife ended up in the hospital. So, how do antibiotics work? Pretty much antibiotics are there to break down the biofilm, or the wall, a protective wall around an infection. So bacteria embeds itself into the urinary tract wall, or the bladder wall. It creates a biofilm, or a wall that protects itself from our body's ability to try and ward or fight it off. The antibiotic is there to break down that wall and to kill the infection. There's no proven natural product that can actually do that. The problem is that bacteria mutates and our bodies build up resistance to it as well. So the more we take the antibiotics, the higher the probability is that antibiotic might not work again when you do need it. And that's the risk of overtaking antibiotics. And it's a global problem.
Makes sense. And then to kind of make the connection, like in my personal journey with my urinary health, I didn't always communicate with my doctors what was going on. I did, try to prevent it or mitigate it or heal it at home. So I didn't always go for the antibiotics unless it actually got worse and I needed to go. So like sometimes there's a disconnect there. Most people would rather try to heal it before they have to go see a medical doctor. Generally, we go see the medical doctor on our appointments, like once a year if we have to go to the gyno, or once a year or twice a year we have to go to the dentist, but we're not like trying to go outside of that unless there's a real issue. So this is where like the natural remedies come into play, like cranberries. So I always use cranberry juice to kind of heal my UTIs, and it seemed to work. I would do a combination of the cranberry juice and water, and stay home for a day, and then drink as much as I can, get it to pass through, no matter how painful it was. Because a lot of times you have pain through this and then you don't want to drink anything. You want to just like take something that will remedy it without you having to go through all the trouble of drinking cranberry juice or water. But, cranberries have been known to, either mitigate or heal UTIs. But like I said, I was doing a combination of the water and cranberry, so I don't know which one worked the best. But cranberries have been known for decades to help with UTIs. Is it a myth? And is Utiva the same?
So Shannon, it's a great point and question, because you're not alone. When we started to really dig deep into, consumers and how they're approaching UTIs, you'll be surprised that over 60% people turn to Google and search for what kind of natural remedies they could use for UTIs, before even going to go see the doctor, right? So it's very common. Or the other thing is they'll ask their close family or their close friends, right, about
Right.
what to do. And cranberries have been known for centuries almost about. So there's definitely there's got to be some benefit there, right? Because it's been passed on from generation that
Yes.
cranberries do help out. So it's not a myth. What has happened is science has really caught up into understanding what works in cranberry and what does not work. Um,
Okay.
to put it from a clinical perspective, in 2016, there was a Cochrane review, which pretty much pulled in all sorts of clinical studies that were done on cranberry to at least conclude that, the studies are fairly mixed. The cranberries do work for some people, and for some people it does not work. And the main reason for it is nothing was standardized from a cranberry perspective. And what I mean by standardized is, do you take juice? How much of juice? Do you take pills? Which pills? What's in the pills? Right? So there's a lot of confusion. And what that led to is the conclusion of that 2016 study was there's got to be more research that has to happen with the active molecule of cranberry, called proanthocyanidins. So fast track 2019, here we are. Last year, the urology guidelines for the first time, in decades, that they actually recognize that cranberries are an effective non-antibiotic prevention option. And it was a pretty milestone achievement for a lot of specialists or urologists that believe in cranberries and saw the benefit. What they highlighted was, if people take cranberries, they must take the right dosage of the active molecule, which are PAPs. And that's the education that Derek and I are really trying to get out there when in the consumer in the consumer world. That don't just rely on any cranberry juice, don't just take any supplements. Look for the packs, look for the right dosage of packs. What you need is 36 milligrams of packs. And we can talk a bit more about that.
Absolutely. So this is why people need to learn about their options and about products and that actually work and are impactful to heal their UTIs or to mitigate them altogether. Because nobody wants to. It's like shopping for food in the grocery store. You go in there and you don't know like what's actually naturally made, what's processed the least. And if you could just go and read the packaging or know that you're getting a product that has exactly what you need in the doses that you need, then that's like the most benefit that anybody could ever have, is picking the right products. So Utiva obviously is dedicated to making sure that you're getting the right dosages so that you can mitigate and proactively take care of your urinary health. So if you have any more information about what they should look for in Utiva, what they can expect in Utiva, and the ingredients that's put into it to help mitigate these UTIs.
Absolutely. So Utiva's leading product is Utiva UTI Control, which has this clinical dose backed by urology guidelines of having 36 milligrams of PAPs, right? Tested by a DMAC method, which is a standard professional method to ensure that every pill has that amount of 36 PAPs. That is what consumers need to look for in their package for it to be effective. To compare it to what people normally see on the shelf, a regular cranberry supplement, and there's a lot of marketing out there that says high dose cranberry, 500 milligrams. It sounds like a lot, but when you actually look at how much of packs are in it and what we recognize packs for what actually work for UTIs, they have less than 1%, which means they have about less than 5 milligrams of packs versus 36 milligrams. So it's substantially different. And what we've done is we've looked at cranberry juice, and cranberry juice has about less than 9 milligrams. So a very easy way we try and help consumers understand this is one Utiva pill is equivalent to about 9 regular cranberry pills to get 36 milligrams of PEP, or drinking 3 to 4 glasses of cranberry juice, which could have a lot of sugar in it.
Yes.
So that's what we're really trying to get out in terms of education.
Absolutely. Because like I told you, I would go like the full extent. So I would buy the biggest jar of cranberry juice, drink that whole thing. I'd buy 2 of them actually. So I drink that whole thing on top of drinking water, and then attempt to drink the other bottle. So can you imagine not having to do that and just having your Utiva regimen on hand and eliminating that altogether, especially for those who don't even like cranberry juice? That could be especially the tartness. And a lot of times you don't want to drink all of these liquids because you don't want, the pain of all of that liquid passing through. And that's such a longer process. But if you can have a supplement that can get right to it and get you the proper amount of the ingredients that you need to actually help you through this UTI, then it would be less effort on your part. And then it would also be more beneficial to you in the long run.
Absolutely.
So
that is perfect. Simplicity is key. Like 1 pill a day, just trying to keep it simple rather than chugging all sorts of juice with lots of sugar. If it's not simple, it's very hard to be compliant. And that's what we really strive to do, is how could we make it.
And then, by the way, sugar is one of the things that you should avoid or really take in doses when you're having urinary issues, especially UTIs, because it can help it. I mean, it could actually trigger it to come on. So a lot of times the sugar-based cranberry juices are so much easier to grab. They're more accessible, but this is a way to kind of mitigate all of that, keeping your sugar low and watching that. I know a lot of times it's painful emotionally to think that you won't be able to eat the amount of sugar or drink the amount of sugars that you would like to. It's at the very least, you'd like something to taste good if you're going to have to, go through the process of being in pain from a UTI. But what I love about Utiva is you take that and you simplify it and you have a regimen that people can follow. So I want to talk a little bit more about the uniqueness of your brand and with all the other options out there for UTI prevention, how Utiva offers all of these unique things and some of the other things that you offer in your product line.
Yeah, is that over to me? Okay, sorry. You guys can hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, so what makes Utiva unique? We overall, based on I guess you can say the awareness that we've developed for Utiva as a brand, we launched this working with doctors. Even though it's a consumer product, we work primarily with urogynecologists, urologists, family physicians as well, but mostly with the specialists who have been seeing a lot of recurrent UTI patients. So one thing we can say for sure is that our product is clinically proven. It's recommended by doctors. We launched with the 36-pack product, but around that, we also realize that there are a lot of other products that can bring value and help and further improve our urinary tract health. One of those being, and a lot of UTI sufferers are taking probiotics. So we recently launched a probiotic power that is a unique blend of lactobacillus and bifidobacterium strains. It's a 30 billion CFU count, locally made, just like our 36 pack supplement as well. That kind of complements the redevelopment of the microbiome and the gut flora, especially after taking antibiotics. So many of the UTI patients are taking antibiotics, as you know, and we've talked about. So having a product that is designed to counter the side effects and improve your gut flora after antibiotics, that's one thing we were trying to do there as well. In addition, very shortly, we're going to have a D-mannose product as well. D-mannose is also well known for UTI prevention. Doesn't have the same clinical evidence that cranberry does, but it is known to work, and we are going to provide a high quality source of that. Not to mention, because we work with the physicians, we do work with a lot of pediatric urologists. And that being said, little kids don't really like swallowing capsules. So we're coming out with a UTI controlled gummy. And so the gummy is a version where the kids can eat something that's at least somewhat enjoyable and get that high pack concentration. We know UTIs has it doesn't discriminate against age. I have a young daughter. She's had a couple of UTIs. She didn't take my capsule as she didn't like it. She could taste it. So, it's just, that's a prime example of where the gummies can come really in handy. Not only that, so those are our products, but as a brand itself with Utiva, we're a newer company, but we're really trying to create that community as well. And we talked earlier about how, it's not as open to talk about UTIs in North America yet. It's still a bit of a taboo kind of topic that are spoken in the background. So we built a community support forum on Facebook. So we have a private community support group that anyone is welcome to join, whether you're a Utiva customer or not. It's where people can have a safe place to talk about their successes, their failures. We also offer monthly classes for free. So if you're part of our newsletter, you can take part in our monthly sessions. We have urologists, urogynes, physiotherapists doing 1 hour sessions of free life coaching episodes like that.
Awesome. Yeah.
It's and it's just a value add, and a lot of these people are just looking to give back to community as well. So they're working with us in partnership. And lastly, we just launched a UTI tracker app. So this app is actually allowing users and doctors to work with their patients to track their symptoms, track their medications, remind them to take their supplements or their meds. And it's like Utiva is a whole community that we're trying to build to support this patient population.
Yes. So you said everything right there was so rich and thick. So we got to revisit some of these things. So I'm with your daughter on that, taking pills and everything. I mentioned before to you guys that I have been getting UTI since second grade, and I've had urinary issues basically my whole life. And so one of the things that my mom tried was this, I don't know what this syrup, cough syrup, stuff called swamp root. It tastes,
okay.
Yes, it was from a mom and pop pharmacy. Okay. And it was supposed to, help the bladder be less overactive. And my goodness, it sounds just as disgusting as the name. So I would really appreciate a gummy. And then, too, some adults don't like to take pills either. They have a really hard time. I have a sister, and it's so hilarious watching her take pills. And she's in her 20s, but watching her take a pill is hilarious.
It's a struggle.
Yes, just any type of pill. It could be small. It could be, forget it if it's big, but it could be small. So I can understand, some people.
And I didn't even talk about that earlier, but just because you mentioned it, the Utiva capsule actually is one of the smallest capsules on the market.
Oh, well, that's even better.
Concentrate it and put as little fillers as possible. So our cranberry capsule is actually very small.
Oh, well, that's good to know. So that was one of the things that I wanted to mention to you. So I could really appreciate that gummy. And if it's flavored, a strawberry flavored cotton candy, something for the kids, even better. I love that you're touching everybody in the community, from kids to adults. And like you mentioned, or we talked about that, not only women are affected by this, but men are too. It's just that women can be more affected by it. Our urethras are smaller. And so bacteria passing through, there's not really as large of a space for the bacteria to pass through. So a lot of times we're really affected by it. The other thing that you mentioned is that you have a community, a safe space for women to go, or just anyone to go and at least get information. At the very least, get some information about your options, about look about other people's their experiences, so that you can relate to people and see that you're not alone. A lot of times we remain isolated. We stop doing things that we used to do, going to school, even for some people, pursuing their careers. They're no longer, at family events or going to brunch with friends or at their kids' play dates because they're in pain, they're suffering. And when you know that you have a platform that you can go to get information and get that kind of support, that's invaluable. So I can really appreciate that you all have that community, and I encourage everyone to go and check it out, if for nothing else, to kind of get the support that you need and learn more about the options that you have. So I definitely appreciate all that you have going on. The other thing is that you actually have a group of doctors that do help disseminate information and have one-on-ones, so that people that are uncomfortable having the conversation in front of a healthcare professional, it makes it a little bit more comfortable for them to get out their questions. And I can tell you, like from my experience, there wasn't a lot of conversation between me and my healthcare provider about UTIs or even getting antibiotics or things that I could be doing proactively outside of having any medical sort of intervention. Faraz, you mentioned that your grandmother had suffered for so long with UTIs, and mainly because there was not that kind of communication going on. So I can imagine, the platform of the support and having the team of doctors that that clients and patients and customers can go to have that sort of support. How do you think that would have really benefited your grandmother, and moving forward, how can it be impactful to your friends and family now to have that as a part of your company and a part of your brand?
And you know what? I'm glad you brought that up, Shannon, because we're based in Canada, but we think very globally. And we should, with everything that's happened with COVID.
Absolutely.
This thing has no boundaries, and what we enjoy and what we really are proud of is when we find people from all over the world connecting with us in our community page. We welcome them. We help answer their questions. They can join all our live sessions and benefit from physicians who are on this side of the world. We bring the specialists to them, and we also facilitate products overseas. And we get requests from the island. We get requests from India. A lot of my family still reaches out, because some of this education, some of the clinical, some of these efficacious products have not made it to other regions. But with Google and with the communities that are getting created, people find their way. They're looking, they're hungry for this information. So
Absolutely.
we can't do enough. And if there's people out there that are listening to this and want to help participate in this movement, help us in how we can really mobilize this and take it to another level, we're always open to ideas. We strongly believe the products are a huge component of it, but so is everything else, such as the tracking, the community, the education. So
Yes.
welcome that, and I'm glad you have this forum, which also has a very nice global depth to it, right?
Yes, and I couldn't agree with you more. While we do have a lot of access, in Canada, here, the UK, Australia, there are other countries and people that are suffering because they don't have access. They simply don't have access. And while we are struggling with having the conversations, we do have the options and we do have access. There are many women around here or men that are suffering, and we could help. Through your platform, through your products, we can all help in giving them the opportunity to get their education, to heal from childbirth, to not self-isolating anymore. And a lot of people are even isolated from their societies because they're looked upon as dirty. So if we can come together, in this community and build on what you have, and reaching out to the people that don't have access, or reaching out to communities that we can help bring them back, into society, by healing them in this way. I mean, the world could just be just a more beautiful place in that way, by just our small, helpings, even through the community. So I love that you thought of all of these different pieces to add onto your brand, and not just the supplements. But I do want to mention, or I do want to ask, since we're here now, are Utiva supplements the answer? Women and men, for that matter, have been waiting for to be the one product that they can naturally, help, that can naturally help everyone.
So, and that's a great question, and a segue kind of from what we were talking about earlier in terms of having that community, because in the end, no one natural product is the end all cure for urinary tract infections. We don't position Utiva in that manner. We speak to our doctors and our physicians openly as well that, Utiva is not a cure. It's not a treatment. What it is a highly effective and a very likely great chance that it'll be able to help prevent your next UTI. And that is what it's really positioned as. And that's also partially why we have the community support forum, because, everyone will have their successes and their failures. And that's an area where everyone can discuss it. If maybe Utiva didn't work for someone, I'm glad to say Utiva works for the majority of people that we have recommended to us, and that's the reason why doctors are recommending people to take Utiva. But this is an area that people can share, like, well, what are my triggers? What are not my triggers?
Right.
What product worked for me? What product didn't work for me? And that's why we built this. It's almost like a system. It's a community ecosystem that allows people to most likely benefit from Utiva's products, but also be able to discuss openly with each other what's working and what's not. The one thing nice about our 36 milligram control supplement, though, is that it offers you that one daily dose of peace of mind. Quality of life is severely impacted by those that get recurrent UTIs. And to be able to take one small capsule a day to give you that peace of mind can go a long way to improving quality of life. Our goal, of course, is to make everyone UTI free where possible. But even if you take a patient or somebody that gets UTIs that has, say, 8 to 10 UTIs a year, and you can get them down to like 1 or 2 UTIs a year, that's still a huge win. A win in terms of reduction of antibiotic usage, and a win in terms of improvement of quality of life. The bottom line is with Utiva products, we're bringing something to market that is simple, it's natural, it's backed by science, and we have all the other kind of systems values within our system that we can present and help consumers with.
Yes, I love it because you also have the app. So people that are techie, you still have something there.
Mm-hmm.
People that are natural, you have your options there. People that need a community, you have your options there. And Faraz?
I was just going to add to what Derek was saying, Shannon, just one tangible thing that people can take away, because, one thing we realize is everybody knows someone. Shannon, you've been very open about your story, but everybody knows someone who has had a UTI or is chronically suffering from a UTI. And as Derek was saying, supplements are a small part of the overall picture. We created, along with urogynecologists, an ebook it's like the ultimate guide for UTIs. It's an easy read. So we welcome those who are listening in to join our newsletter, to reach out to our website. and so they can access the ebook for free. There is a charge on the website, but if you reach out to us, we will make that available for free to all the listeners here. And it has a lot of wealth of information in terms of diet, exercise, traveling smart. Like there's a lot of general tips because as we talked about, supplements are only one part of the picture of prevention, right?
Yes.
So welcome everyone to check that out as well. And yeah, no, thanks. I just wanted to add that in there.
Absolutely. I'm so happy that you have that ebook because one of the things that prevented me from getting my antibiotic sooner this past March was the fact that I was traveling. So if I knew, how to pack better or prepare for that better, or for that matter, have been on the regimen already to be proactive about making sure that I was clear of, any of that bacteria, or at least it was disseminating and working its way through, that would have helped me so much. So please take advantage and go to their website, download the ebook. Is there anything, you all have a special offer to offer everyone here?
Well, Shannon, we will definitely have a discount code that we can offer. I mean, only coming to us direct can we offer a discount as opposed to buying it from Amazon, for example.
Yes.
But we will provide all your viewers with a discount code, and it's probably easier to just pass it on to you first that you could potentially pass on to your viewers.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
We'll give and we usually do, for an event like this, we'll do a 25% off discount for anyone looking to purchase any amount of the products, and take a look at what we have to offer as well.
That's awesome.
Look.
Yes, but still join the community. At the end of the day, it's best for you to get all of your options, to learn more about this and how you can prevent it and how you can be proactive about your urinary health and preventing these UTIs from even happening. So press the button below so that you can get your discount code. And can you just tell them your website and how to reach you on social media?
Yeah, definitely. So you can look us up on Facebook. It's Utiva Health. That's UTIVA Health. That's the name of the Facebook. And our website is also utivahealth.com. So it's very simple. If you type in Utiva and UTI prevention, I'm pretty sure we'll pop up at pretty early on, hopefully.
Absolutely. I love it. UTI, UTI, and then VA. I love that.
Yeah.
Is there anything else, an additional that you'd like to say before we go?
No, I mean, we totally appreciate the opportunity to speak within your group here, Shannon. It takes a lot of effort to put something like this together. So, kudos to you, and we will always be in touch for sure.
Thank you.
Thank you, Shannon. Keep it up. Keep doing more. Yeah.
Oh, I really appreciate your time and all of the expert advice that you gave, all of the goodies that you gave as well. Everyone, please do yourself a favor, join their community, get the supplements, get yourself on a regimen, and be proactive about your urinary health. Thank you guys again, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks, Shannon.
Thanks, Shannon.
Bye.